Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel on this Wednesday morning, afternoon or evening in the world where you may be at. And today I'm going to be talking about gaining independence and living with a disability. And as someone who's on the autistic spectrum like myself, I thought I'd talk about my own perspective of being diagnosed with autism and how I've become independent. So let's get into it. So what is it like to live with a disability and be independent? Since being diagnosed with a disability at the age of 25, it completely changed my life, and believe me, I've had to adapt to many changes since being diagnosed with autism 7 years ago at the age of 25. I'm going to offer you some tips and tricks and advice from my own perspective as an autistic adult. From my experience, the first step is how you learn to come to terms with being diagnosed. At first, I admit I was very much in denial, angry and upset. I found it very emotional and very anxious time of being overwhelmed. I didn't understand why I had to be different. It did take me a lot of time to process and accept that I didn't have to be ashamed of having a disability, that actually it is a strength that gives me many different abilities. So that's the first tip and trick that I'm going to give you, is take time to process it, take time to research what you're going to be living with, take time to get to understand yourself and understand that each emotion is actually important and is accepted and is crucial, because when you've first been diagnosed with something, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know how it's going to change you, you don't know how you're going to deal with it. And like I said, I found it very, very anxious, very overwhelming. I was very in denial. I didn't want to know about autism. I didn't know what it was. I was very against it. I was like, no, nothing's wrong with me. I haven't got this. No, no, no. And it took me a few weeks to process my head and get myself in the right headspace to understand what autism was, and that it wasn't a negative thing to be ashamed of or to be worried about. Yes, I read some things that were quite scary about it and kind of thought, but you know, I got used to it. I started looking into it in the bright side of things and the positive side of things. So again, remember, your disability doesn't mean that it limits you. It doesn't stop you from doing the everyday things that you want to do. You can still do things regardless of having a label put against you or a diagnosis given to you. It just means you have to do life slightly differently and have strategies in order for you to best cope, to be a productive member of society in general. So that's what I've kind of done. So the next tip is to focus on the things that make you happy. So whether that's your friends and family. For me, it was very, very hard because I have a limited circle of friends and a very small, well, smallish side of family. So it's kind of, I had to adapt to changing my attitude, my behaviour. I had to adapt to being someone who is now getting to understand why she's always been different, why her behaviour's always been a bit weird, and understanding that autism just means that I'm on the spectrum of different needs, abilities, different symptoms that I have. So things like noise, crowds, anxiety, touch, taste, sight, smell, all them different kind of things. I've had to adapt to what is and try and make myself adaptable to society. So it's kind of, I've had to learn to adapt to how people see me and how they perceive me in the everyday situation. Also, I had to learn to adapt to my mental health changes, because again, I had high anxiety. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was anxious all the time, why I constantly felt edgy all the time. So get to understand yourself and understand that you are in control of what you live with. You are in control of what the medical diagnosis is. It doesn't mean it has to limit you, restrain you, stop you from attempting to do things. Again, I spent a lot of time researching, looking in books, online, on forums, getting to know other people who have similar things to myself. So again, I would take a lot of time talking to mental health professionals. I would take a lot of time talking to your local physicians or doctors or nurses or anyone like social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists who do work within that field, because they know best for you and they know how to best help you and fully support you. Like I said, I'm not a medic, I'm just someone that lives with autism. So yeah, I found that my local mental health service and my local mental health autism service have been the best form of support for me, because they've understood my barriers, they've understood my communication issues, they've understood that I struggle to talk properly or I struggle to be part of society because I have sensory issues. So whether that's a high-pitched noise, whether that's being around people and the environment, I have to learn to adapt each trigger so I don't get overstimulated all the time, because at first I was getting triggered by every little noise. So whether that's a motorcycle, a police car, a police siren, a bus or fire engine or a motorbike that would go past me, and all of a sudden I just hear the echo of the noise, whereas now I take in headphones or I wear like earmuffs or ear defenders to stop the noise irritating me. So again, it's looking into coping strategies as well. Coping strategies, I must say a lot about. Coping strategies will become your best friend whilst you're being diagnosed or assessed for a medical condition, because when you're out and about and you want to block the noise out, put the ear defenders on, or if you can, put some music on, some headphones, and that be your best friend, because music is a godsend to me and has been a really big help with regards to processing a lot of things when I've been trying to get my brain to shut down all my emotions and things like that. Then the next tip that I want to tell you is that it's okay to ask questions. I can't stress this enough. When you first get diagnosed or assessed, it is important that you ask questions, because you're going to have questions rushing around your head. Believe me, I have them still. I've been diagnosed nearly 8 years. You're going to have questions as to why. Why do I feel different? Why am I upset more? Why am I angry more? Why do I feel like I'm exhausted all the time? Why do I feel sleepy all the time? You're going to have questions in your head, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay, because make sure you go to the people that you trust to be around you. Make sure that you have things that you can go and do to help yourself through the situation, because when I was diagnosed, it was kind of like, oh, well, congratulations, you're on the autistic spectrum and this is what it means. And then all of a sudden there was no support. I had to go away for over a year and research things to help myself, and in that time I had to move house and basically get resettled into a different routine and start again. So it's kind of, I've had to learn a lot of different strategies over my time. And then during that time since being diagnosed, I've actually made friends with local autism service, who then took me on as their local volunteer. So it basically means that I found a way to structurally keep my structure up to date. I was going to Stowmarket all the time, about twice a month on average, going to do work with them. So whether there's a public speaking group or the World Autism Awareness Week work, I would go and promote autism, tell my story, share my experiences with other people who may not know about autism, or might have an autistic loved one in their family, or they work with someone with autism, or there's someone who is suspected of it. So again, it's about finding out, researching, taking part in events that are going to help you understand who you are and why you act the way that you do. So you ask questions, research, get to know yourself, understand yourself, take time to get to know what the disorder is or what the medical condition is. It took me still till now to realise what autism is and how to function and how to make my life in a positive source. So again, get involved in your local community. I can't stress this enough. Get involved in forum groups or online phone calls, because they will be your source of strength. They will be your source of wisdom with regards to living with a disability, accessing it, understanding and getting to say, hey, just because I have a disability doesn't mean I have to be ashamed. And the amount of forums and groups that I've done over the years has really beneficially changed my life, like working with ACE Angular, the NSFT, BC Radio Suffolk, amongst other people. I've done a lot of work to make autism awareness. I've worked with autism and ADHD with Annie Clements. I've worked with the former MP Ben Gummer. I'm now working with Tom Hunt, who is the Ipswich current MP right now. I work with a lot of people from different medical backgrounds, like Roger Blake from Ipswich Hospital. I work with him. I do a lot of autism presentation work with him. So again, get involved in your local community, find your voice, find a way of being an advocate, understand how important your voice is, because unless we speak out and share our experiences, they won't know how to help us. They won't know how to communicate with us. So again, I can't stress that. Having independence is crucial, because for me, my independence is all about me and going out, proving that I'm not going to be restricted, told no, told I can't, told I shouldn't. Plan ahead of time. So if you have a visual timetable, like a bit of paper or a diary, write what time you're going to be going out. So for me, if I'm going out in the morning, I'm like, okay, get up at 8 o'clock, have a shower, get dressed, have a snack, plan what time bus I need, how long does it take me to get there, how long is it going to take me if I need to get another bus, how long do I need to wait for the next bus, how long is that going to take me, how long am I going to get back, how am I going to get back, how long is it taking to get back. Make sure if you know that there's food there and you may not like it, take a packed lunchbox. Do things that you know will actively, productively help you, rather than stress you out, and then again that will lessen the sensory overload and anxiety and depression. Also, my independence is because I do things like meditation, colouring books, sensory things that help shut my system down, like phone calls. And I think that's another crucial thing. Get coping strategies. Find something that works for you. This is only from my perspective, so I'm not talking about everybody. This isn't going to work for everybody. No, it's not. But for me, this is what works and what has been a productive source of my my life living with a disability. Also, take independence slowly. Don't rush it. Don't go into head first, one thing after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, because that's what I kind of did. I jumped into so many different advocate things, so many different advocacy groups, so many different presentation groups, and you do get yourself burnt out. So be very, very careful how you push for your independence. Do it one step at a time rather than being headstrong like me and going boom, 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 boom because you want to get involved with it. One thing I noticed about my independence is when I moved out of my parents' house, it really hit me because all of a sudden now you're living on your own, you're having to pay bills, not just food, but you have to pay gas, water, electric, you're having to pay council tax, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you are aware of what you are doing with that kind of thing. Make sure you have enough money and stuff like that. Also, what I can stress is make sure you have your essential support network. So whether that's a carer, a teacher, a friend, a cousin, a family member, make sure you have that essential support network for you to help you cope with living with a disability as you start your journey as a disabled person. And again, make sure that you always ask for help. Just because you may have a disability doesn't mean that you're not independent. I can't stress that enough. Just because you may have a label or you become disabled because of something, it does not mean you do not be restrained. It does not mean you stop your life. It means that you have to see the world differently, from a different angle and from a different viewpoint, because then you communicate with differently in the way that people see you. I communicate differently because of my autism, my anxiety disorder, but that's me. Not everyone will have the same triggers as me or the sensory issues as me. I get that. We're all different. We're all on a spectrum. So I encourage you strongly, live your life regardless of your disability label, and make sure you live the full guaranteed life that you want to live. Remember, you do have independence, and disability does not stop you. So please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you next video. Bye guys!